Hey, what's up, DIYers? Mike Boards with the Mike Boards channel. Thank you for watching. We're talking Chevy Colorado, and in the event that you have a GMC Canyon, it's basically the same thing. In today's video, we're going to talk about some common causes that lead to a parking brake sticking. Let's take a look. All right, DIYers, outside and into the garage. It's raining out, as you can see. Calm winds, though. However, again, the common causes of why your parking brake is sticking. Let's go to the driver's side. And in here, as you can see, is our parking brake lever, and you can pull it, and on the back side or inner side or complete opposite side of this plastic pull handle or lever is your cable that feeds all the way back to your rear brakes. And again, in the event that you start your vehicle and pull the parking brake lever out to release the parking brake, however, on your instrument cluster, your brake light is still illuminated right there. In our case, it will be red. I believe in your case, it will be also red. We are going to talk about a couple common causes. Let's go underneath the vehicle where the actual cable is. And you can see right there is the parking brake cable, and it feeds all the way to this housing right here. Check that out. And the opposite end feeds all the way up into the vehicle and to the opposite end of that pull lever. And just check the overall condition of this part right here. And wiggle it just a little bit without breaking it. And just kind of loosen it up. In the event that it is so rusted and corroded, it might be as simple as just kind of breaking it free. And you can see a few things popping off and falling off of there, probably just dirt. And we will continue feeding back here to this section right here. That is hard mounted, where the cable itself feeds into a more protective line and feeds all the way back to your respective wheels. Taking a step back, we are going to reference our driver's side rear tire, and we are going to position the jack and jack stand. Never rely on a jack. Always insert and secure the vehicle with a jack stand. We're going to remove the tire and gain access to the inner drum and mechanical linkage of your brake drum system. All right, DIYers, the tire is fully removed, and we now have much better access to our rear brake drum and hub. And it is very rusty, very old. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the original from 2008. However, in the event that you are not planning on replacing this, nor you have the finances or time to do so, we're going to show you how to just clean it up and get it back to working. At this point, I've got the camera set back, and DIYers, take a good look at all of your lug nut studs and just verify that you do not have a locking clip or tension tab or tension clip on either of these studs. And depending on your year, make, and model, you might actually have one. And if you do, you might have one, and you might have one on the complete 180-degree opposite end lug nut stud. In some cases, you can begin counterclockwise unscrewing them all the way down the thread of the stud and removing them. However, in most cases, unfortunately, they get so corroded and so rusted, you may need some pliers to grab a hold of them and break them free, where you can then pull them off. However, in our case, we don't actually have those clips on any of our studs, and from here, just kind of feel the brake drum and see if it can come off. And I have placed a heavy load of cardboard underneath the entire wheel hub and drum assembly because it's going to get dirty. Next, I grabbed just a little pry bar. Down below in the comments section, as well as the description section, will be a link on where to purchase these. And I'm just going to come in between and carefully go from the 12 o'clock to the 9 o'clock over to the 3 o'clock. Try to break it free. And in our case, it is coming loose very nicely. And just begin to wiggle it all the way down. 3 and 9, 12 and 6, 3 and 9, 12 and 6, 3 and 9. There we go. This is heavy and big. I'm going to carefully set that down, dust off my hands, and check that out, DIYers. We now have much better access to all the internal parts of our brake drum and brake system. Now I want to talk about all of the parts. And on the far left or forward portion, you've got a brake shoe, and you've got an additional brake shoe that goes from the 1 o'clock maybe down to the 5 o'clock. And then up top you have the cylinder, and double check for leaks in the event that you have aggressive leaks coming out of either rubber boot portion of your cylinder. Well, you might want to replace that. In addition, down below you've got a spring and linkage, and then you've got this large W-shaped securing clip that feeds into an oval-shaped hole on either shoe. And depending on which side of the vehicle you are working on will depend on where the actual spring that feeds out of the shoe and into the parking brake is. I'll give you a close-up view now. At this point we have much better access to everything inside, and again, coming to the top, there's a closer view of the cylinder itself. And below that is a spring and linkage, and on the right hand side, basically from again the 1 o'clock all the way to the 5 o'clock, is a brake shoe, and our left brake shoe, or one closest to the front of the vehicle. And as you can see, these are pretty worn down, but again, the whole purpose of this video is to get you unstuck and back working properly without actually having to replace any parts at this very given point. And we're going to come inside here, and right down there you can actually see a spring. Check that out. And inside that spring is your parking brake cable, and it feeds basically downstream into the housing from the front portion that we were just showing you. And depending on which side of the vehicle you are working on or servicing, it will depend on which brake shoe has that spring feeding all the way to the hard mounted linkage, as you can see way down in there. In our case, again, driver's side, and this is the brake shoe that the spring is hard mounted to, and the parking brake cable feeds into and is secured to. And we are going to grab some brake cleaner and clean everything inside this housing, and hopefully again break up your stuck wheel, and trying to give you kind of a good view of the internal portion. Again, in the event that I removed this brake shoe right here and pulled it out by removing this little tension W-shaped clip, I can actually pull this shoe out, and you can see the entire spring that we just showed you right there, and then the cable again feeding into it and into the hard mounted securing housing. And unfortunately, over the years, it gets corroded, it gets rusted, and begins to stick and not operate and move back and forth as it is designed to do. So again, we're going to grab some brake cleaner and spray the internal parts. Alright DIYers, hey, a quick break in the action, and what I wanted to show you was an actual picture of the brand new replacement shoes for our exact 2008 Chevy Colorado. And there they are. As I just mentioned, the rear shoe has the spring and parking brake lever mechanism, which you can see right here. And the top shoe in this photo, or brake shoe, is the one that goes on the left side of the wheel hub and is closest to the front portion of the engine. And let's go to the next photo. Here's just a close-up view of the actual linkage where the spring and cable feed into the mechanism itself. So I wanted to show you a better view so you have a better understanding of the actual part that we are working with. Got the camera set back, and also down below in the comment section as well as the description section will be a link on where to purchase brake cleaner. And this is some incredible stuff. And at this point, again, we're just going to spray the entire inner portion of the brake drum housing. And I've got a bunch of cardboard laid down on the floor, and without making a huge mess, begin spraying and cleaning all the brake dust and grime off those parts. I am now going to go underneath and spray that entire spring and cable and housing, and you can see the dark liquid falling out. And this is a good position right here to really get into that housing and break up all that corrosion that's basically not allowing that housing to move as efficiently as it is supposed to keep that parking brake free when it is not engaged. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to hop inside the truck and carefully pull the parking brake a few times and begin moving that housing and linkage. And you might actually see the spring move. I'll scroll in a bit. Alright, DIYers, to a different camera angle, and as you just saw, we were able to remove quite a lot of dust, rust, debris, grime, etc. from this housing. However, it's not 100% clean. You can see just some buildup on the top yellow cylinder, but that's okay. Check out that blue W-shaped locking clip or tension clip that secures the brake shoes. That's quite clean. And coming back inside where the spring was, and all the way to the inner opposite end, right inside here, that feeds all the way in there, is that housing that the brake cable itself secures into. And we sprayed it pretty good, and we moved that cable, and hopefully we were able to free up that housing and allow it to move a little easier. However, it's not brand new, but it's clean. And again, that's the whole goal of this video, to get you unstuck and back driving without replacing parts at this very given point. From here, I'm just going to maybe wait 20 to 30 minutes, allow this entire housing to clean. Grab some paper towel, clean off the brake shoes, and I might add a little bit of grease or lubricant to the inner housing and spring down below. Now to an additional camera angle, and what I'm going to do is hop inside the vehicle and press down on the brake pedal and push it all the way to the full down and engaged position, and you will see this spring move. And again, in our case, the cable goes through this spring and secures all the way back under here to the housing. And then I'm going to release the parking brake, and I may engage the parking brake a few additional times to again just get this cable moving and the spring moving, as well as the housing to move. We are trying to break up and remove as much of the dust and rust and corrosion as we possibly can. Now coming inside the vehicle, and DIYers, all I was doing was pushing down on the parking brake with my hand all the way down. And the first couple pulls on the parking brake lever, the actual pedal itself was a bit slow to come up, and I pulled it out and it came up maybe halfway to 3/4 of the way, and I allowed the lever to push in, and then I pulled it out again and it came all the way out. But now check this out. Much better. All the way in and out. And it spring loads out very quickly and is not binding up on anything, and that tells us we have freed up that linkage and housing where the cable secures into, and that's a good thing. No more stuck brakes. Back to the wheel hub and brake housing, and I have grabbed my white lithium grease, and down below in the comments section as well as the description section will be a link on where to purchase this. And I'm going to lubricate the spring and housing. And again, we broke it free, but I want to add an additional layer of lubrication to keep it free. And again, white lithium grease. And to alleviate a mess, I have inserted the 4-inch precision straw to give me a much cleaner and direct spray into the housing and connections. Do your absolute best not to get sloppy or messy with this. Come inside here and just apply some white lithium grease. Next, grab the paper towel and just cleaning up any excess spray. Do your absolute best not to get white lithium grease on your brake shoes. That would not be good. We're now back inside where that spring and cable and housing are, and a much better look at where I applied the lithium grease. And again, just a couple more applications of the parking brake and release lever to really free up that housing, the spring, and the cable. Taking a step back, in DIYers, we are satisfied with this. We are going to put everything back together, hop to the opposite side, and do the exact same thing. And again, I'm not replacing this at this point. However, down the road, I definitely need to. align your studs properly, and really push this brake drum onto these shoes as straight as you possibly can. And if it's not going on, what we need to do is grab a flathead screwdriver and adjust the linkage and spring up top to pull the brake shoes in. Alright DIYers, that brake drum ripped my gloves, but that's okay. Again, just verify that your brake shoes are clean and dry. And from here, grab your drum and ever so carefully align it with the studs and onto the brake housing. What I did next was put it in neutral because I want to be able to spin this entire hub and brake assembly, and I want to make sure that it is not catching. And that's pretty good. Back to park, and as you can see, moving it back and forth, it is locked. I am now going to engage the parking brake because the drum itself is kind of loose. You can see it loose on each of the studs, as you see there. See that? I'm going to engage the parking brake, and that should not happen. Parking brake engaged, and that is locked. Parking brake released, much better. Time to put the tire back on. However, in the event that you had those locking clips or lock rings, go ahead and re-secure them on your studs. Taking a step back and the tire is re-secured. DIYers, just take a minute or two, double check everything is re-secured. And we are going to hop to the other side. My recommendation is do the exact same thing, procedure-wise, step-wise, to this side. Remove as much of that rust, dust, debris, grime, corrosion, etc. from the inner housing and really clean up your parking brake system. And DIYers, we did just that, and what we'll do now is let the vehicle warm up. It stopped raining, which is kind of cool. Still calm winds, but we are going to take it for a cruise and test drive it. Alright DIYers, we are back from the test drive. All went well, and just a heads up for safety purposes, the first couple of applications of your parking brake might feel a little weak, might be a little squishy, but that's okay. That's normal because we made some adjustments and we cleaned the entire housings and lubricated them. So carefully apply your brakes just a couple times, maybe 3-4 times before you leave the driveway, and really set those brakes before you get back on the road. And that's it. We hope this helps. Hey, do us a favor, below the video you will see that thumbs up icon. Click on that, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Definitely ring your YouTube bell. That'd be very helpful to us. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks again for watching.